introduction of ordinance 1414, which is an ordinance amending chapter 254, section 9 of the Town of West New York Municipal Code regarding the fee for applications filed for mobile and or street vendor licenses. Do I have, prior to the vote, this ordinance will be returnable at our next hearing, next meeting on October 15th at 7 p.m. in the Court Chambers. A copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board upon which public notices are customarily posted in the town hall, and a copy at no charge is available up to and including the time of such meeting to the members of the public of the town who shall request such copies at the office of the town clerk. Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1414?
Motion.
Second. Motion by Mayor Roque with a second by Commissioner Frias. Commissioner Frias.
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez.
Yes.
Commissioner Vargas. Commissioner Wiley. Mayor Roque.
Yes.
As a result of the closed session that we just had, there is one resolution which is on the agenda as
It's our number 18.
our number 18, that if someone would move that resolution. It's a resolution authorizing settlement with the law firm of Dario Yacker, Suarez and Albert in the amount of $41,032.16. This is for billings that were incurred prior to this administration, and payment that was not made pursuant to a state report, the Oxford report from June of 2013. And so if there's a motion to move the settlement.
Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Rodriguez with a second by Mayor Roque to authorize settlement. Commissioner Frias?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Vargas? Commissioner Wiley? Mayor Roque?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to open the public portion? Motion. Motion by Mayor Roque with a second by Commissioner Rodriguez. Commissioner Frias? Yes. Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
I'm sorry, with a second by Commissioner Frias. Commissioner Vargas? Commissioner Wiley? Yes. Mayor Roque?
Yes.
The public portion is open. Anyone who wishes to speak, please come state your name.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Cook, 6131 Jackson Street, apartment 2. I'm here on behalf of, I have a couple issues, Mayor, and I have pictures. Again, the red light on 62nd in Hudson, that hasn't worked in 3 years. The empty lot on 61st and Madison that I always complain about, 30 again. And the house on 547 61st Street, empty house, is filthy. I sent you pictures before. They clean it. They know. If I owned the property, I would send somebody back like every other week to clean it, not wait for the people to complain again. That's all in my neighborhood, Mayor. The Parks Department, I'm looking good. Commissioner Wiley, you guys are doing a great job in the Parks Department. I'm here for one reason. I'm here to cover my good friend Bob Antelo. I'm very disturbed what I read in the paper last week. It's actually his character. Bobby Antelo is one of the best police directors, one of the best police officers we ever had in West York, New Jersey. I went to high school with him. We ran track together. His character is beyond reproach. And the statement made in that write-up, and nowhere near Bobby Antelo. He's a great man, a good father, and a hard-working gentleman. And I would quote on the Bible, he's the best police director we had in a while. So he works hard for everybody in the community. The crime is down, the police department doing a great job. So that write-up is not Bobby Antelo. He's a gentleman. And he has upstanding qualities and a great man. Thank you.
To repair 2 streetlights. I know one was on 62nd. I don't know if it was Hudson Park or Mr. Cook. I did. It was Hudson. Okay, I did sign a requisition to repair 2 streetlights.
Thank
Just
you,
this
sir.
week, Louis Caneo was working with the contractor while I was on vacation to get them done.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, they were done already.
And on the note of Mr. Antos, we hired him. We recommended him, Commissioner Rodriguez. We love him, and he's a good man. Like you said, he has brought crime down, and we are in full support of him. Thank you.
Off that statement. I know rumors are rumors, and I hear rumors, but what I hear is something about removing Angelos, and I hope that does not happen. And he's been very attentive to me, and anything that either needs I had, whether it's the busting the parts or the drugs, he's done a fantastic job. So I hope that will not come to a fruition. I just want to put that on the record.
Commissioner, that would not happen under my commission.
Okay, but you might-
Linda Kellerman, 6600 Boulevard East, West New York. I'd like to know, anybody in the audience live at the Bulls Ferry, Jacobs Ferry, or other areas on the waterfront by River Road? If you could raise your hand. Okay, I guess nobody raised their hand. I mentioned this at a prior meeting. It seems that the people who live there, they get these tax abatements, and now they want a school, yet they don't participate at any of the town meetings. They don't, except for I think the San Cubano restaurant, they don't participate. They don't consider themselves West New York. Now, I mentioned this at the last Board of Education meeting. I read an article in the West New York Reporter, August 31st, 2014, that the people, this is some movement, the people who live there, they want a school movement on the Hudson. At first it was a charter school, now they any other school. And at the August 4th zoning board meeting, I believe Mr. Leon, he came, he asked Mr. Blake, Chairman Blake, what can we do to get a charter school there? And, you know, I think if you live in a town, you should integrate with the other people. We're united as one. I mean, you're a very successful physician, you have a successful business. I'm sure you went to the public schools in West New York with first generation immigrant people, and you're very successful. So I don't see anything wrong with the children who live there to go to the public school here. We should make room for them and welcome them. My son goes to the public school in West New York since pre-K, and I think in general he's been treated pretty well. Thank you.
Brianna Bryson,
I'm sorry, your first name?
Brianna,
Spell it,
R-I-A-N-N-A,
last name.
Bryceland, B-R-Y-C-E-L-A-N-D,
Address?
6600 Boulevard East. And I want to thank all of you for this opportunity, democracy at play. Not long ago, my sister and niece, they paid me a visit from Pennsylvania. And while I was working, they decided to take a walk through the neighborhood. And I overheard them talking later on, and I was a little embarrassed because they weren't talking about our $1 million view. They were talking about the condition of our streets. Every day, fast food wrappers, containers, cans of broken bottles, and bags of dog poo, or dog poo that is not bagged, decorate our sidewalks. Newspapers blow like tumbleweed through the streets, and the public receptacles are often so stuffed with trash that you just can't put another paper cup in there. And then when the garbage collectors come to pick it up, much of it falls to the sidewalk or the street, and wherever it lands, that's where it stays. Now, Mayor Roque, hi. You said that you want to make West New York the new Hoboken, and I think this is a great idea, because Hoboken has had a renaissance. If we all remember that Sinatra Drive was a few years ago pretty scruffy. It was potholes and it was virtually nothing. It was just Stevens overlooking the Great View. Now, this is very much like how our Boulevard East is now and has been for a long time, and that's why I chose to move from Manhattan to West New York. I wasn't born here, I chose it in 1998. Now, I think that the real story of Hoboken's success lies west of the Manhattan View, which we share, to the manufacturing structures that exist within the township itself. There's been a lot of renovation and reclamation of these tremendous structures and converting them into condominium buildings. And it preserves the beauty and the historic architectural essence of the town of Hoboken. If we walk through West New York, we've got the same thing. This town here has a rich manufacturing history. Walk around, look at the buildings, filigrees, fantastic architectural work, and instead we're filling up every available space with gigantic modern structures as opposed to looking at what is already vacant, pre-war structures already vacant throughout our town. It's not just Boulevard East, it's the whole town that needs a big facelift. So many of those structures are just crying for adaptive reuse. What Hoboken did wrong is this. In their absolute zeal to redevelop, they ignored an existing and famous problem, parking. It was bad to start with, and WCBS News last week on the Noon News characterized it as an emergency situation. I had to stop what I was doing at the computer and turn around and look at the screen. They actually used the word emergency. Now, my friends, we are on the same road going down the same road that Hoboken has gone down. I mean, so many, I pay for a parking space just because I can't deal with having to go round and round and round the block, playing to the parking ferry. Please give me a space. I've done it. It's over with. Now, at the last zoning board meeting I was at, there was a developer's representative who used this argument. He said for whatever structure that they wanted to throw up, he said, well, we're not going to have any on-site parking, but you can use the parking facilities for St. Joseph's of the Palisades Church and School. Well, Linda Kellerman stood up and said, did you ask the St. Joseph's about this? And the representative said, well, no, but I'm sure that they would let you do it as long as church and school aren't in session. So that's very nice that we have the developers volunteering people's private property as parking. Now, unlike Hoboken, we have no rapid transit options. What we have are buses. Hoboken has a PATH train, and because of the PATH train, they have easy access to the subway system on the other side of the river. Buses are just public transportation. They're not fast. They go at a certain pace. And what is happening is they're now crowded, and they are becoming stuffed to the gills. When I have to go to work in the morning, I cannot take the New York-bound bus from 65th Street, which is right across from the Versailles. I have to walk up to the Summit House, just north of the Summit House, in order to ensure the fact that I'm going to be able to put myself down and read my book. It's not a pleasant commute anymore. And if you have to work Saturdays and Sundays, which I do, and a lot of people do, this is a 24/7 town, a 24/7 area. It's worse because of a reduced schedule, and also now we have tourists coming into the area, and we have enormous families who are getting on the bus and having a great time going into New York for the day. Well, I still have to go all the way up there and try to find a seat. Commuter vans, as we have learned, unfortunately, can be dangerous. It's your monthly pass. You're discouraged from buying a monthly pass because they don't work. You know, their insurance is very, very questionable. New York waterways is expensive, and Linda brought up the subject of the Tonier neighbors living down on the waterfront. They seem to have 7-day-a-week, 12 hours, if not more a day, bus services from New York Waterway. Up here on the hill, we don't get that. It's Monday to Friday, rush hours only, no afternoon service, no service after a certain time of night. If I take the ferry, I have to walk a mile and a half to get there, and then walk back up the hill. The other thing, the last thing in closing, I promise, back to the current proposals of building these giant rental properties. Now, 200 units at a time. Right now, we've got 2 proposals, one for Guttenberg, which will introduce 200 units onto Boulevard East, and then just a few blocks south of that, across from my apartment, another enormous, which we'll be addressing tomorrow, I'll be in the meeting tomorrow, another enormous apartment building. The thing is that these are rentals as well, and if we shift our focus fatally away from the idea of home ownership, what we do is we change the attitude of the citizens of this community to a certain sense of transience, and as opposed to a lasting commitment to our neighborhood. Believe me, I think we all know this. The day that you go through a closing, the day you sign that mortgage, the day you get that deed, is the day your life changes forever. And I want to thank all of you for your time.
Hi, my name is Robin Veteri, that's V-E-T-E-R-E. I live at 5204 Fairview Terrace, of course, in the wonderful city of West New York. I would like to thank the mayor, Roque, and your staff, especially Brian O'Reilly and Bob Cavada, for allowing me to present an innovative way to get our town to be a town in motion. I would like to give my time to Jerry Freed, the former mayor of Montclair, to talk about complete streets and why it's important for us to adopt a resolution to make this happen for our town. So without further ado, this is Jerry Freed.
Good evening. So I wanted to thank you for the opportunity for me to talk for a few minutes, and for Robin to making the introduction. I'd also like to introduce Ron Grosinger from Memorial High School, who is a figure in bicycling in your municipality, and leads a lot of training for kids to repair bikes and to own their own bicycles as well, to learn how to maintain them. So basically, I'm doing a very brief introduction to you all about this Complete Streets idea, and as Robin said, I'm here to offer my services to come back and talk with staff and each of you, the commissioners, or mayor as well, to consider passing a resolution that would essentially be a Complete Streets policy. And just to tell you a little bit about what Complete Streets is, it's sometimes surprising for people to realize that New Jersey is actually a leader in bicycle and pedestrian advocacy and policy. Given that we think of New Jersey, some of us anyway, from Rosanna Dana saying what exit, like very car-oriented culture. Actually, West New York has, as you probably know, close to 40% of the people who live here don't own a car. And that's just one of the many reasons why it's really important to focus on using the streets, the use of the streets for all users, which means not just the cars, but pedestrians, bicyclists, transit users, and obviously you have a lot of people taking buses and mass transit. And it's very much common sense that we want to make sure that the streets are accommodating to all, that intersections are well designed, that the facilities that are there calm traffic to the point where people aren't racing through. Very common sense, but we actually have had about 60 years of federal transportation policy that's done the opposite. Basically, design roads, county roads, state roads, streets for the rapid throughput of automobiles, in many cases far beyond the capacity of the road to be able to accommodate all different users. Now, West New York, you're fortunate you were developed in a time when people had to get around by foot. You're lucky in a way that you've got young people who are walking to school. Most of the country doesn't have those opportunities, and many places you literally can't walk from point A to point B. You've got lots and lots of people walking, you've got lots of people bicycling. And that's a great opportunity not only for improving the safety and the health of your residents, but economic development as well. And what Complete Streets policies are about, I'm just going to get up a couple of images, but I'll show you these in an email later on. Most of the municipalities in New Jersey that are interested in improving the walkability and bikeability of their streets are doing it to enrich the businesses in the area, to build the tax ratables from commercial properties. I have a little handout that I'll give to you at the end, which is my top 10 reasons to adopt the policy. Most municipalities, they say, we need more ratables. And people who are walking more comfortably, more safely, they're people who are shopping. People who are driving through, obviously you've got a lot of people who are cutting through, but people in cars, they don't spend as much money. And if you just need to go across the river and see what's happened in New York City, and Hoboken and other municipalities as well. Those investments in infrastructure for bicycles and in many cases for pedestrian promenades, roads that are shared between many users. That's what Complete Streets looks like in an urban setting. Lots and lots of investment in money, not because Mayor Bloomberg is a crunchy granola guy who likes to see people riding around bicycles, but because it's a more efficient use of the public space of the roads and the streets. And frankly, the effect on the ability to be able to draw business and residents is massive. I don't know if your Bergen Record up here, but there was a front page article in Star Ledger a couple of months ago, and the headline for it, I'll bring it up, was that sprawl withdrawal. Young New Jersey residents push towards cities and away from suburbia. What that's about is a generational change. That's the cover, that's what it looked like. The generational change that's happened is that young people want to live not only in cities, but in walkable areas, places where you can, as they say, get up in the morning, go out for a cup of coffee, go for a walk somewhere and not have to get in a car. You've got lots of people who are doing that right now. The benefit of making your streets more accommodating, and that means more plantings, beautification, in some cases bike lanes where possible, road diets which narrow roads that are too wide so that the cars are obeying the speed limit, not going faster. That's the essence of what Complete Streets is. People think, oh, this is expensive, or putting in bike lanes and things. Most Complete Streets implementation have to do with paint and improving the experience for people who are using those roads. So I'll just very briefly, I'll just show you a couple of those images as I mentioned, and I'll give you some handouts about Complete Streets. First, I didn't give you a background. I was mayor of Montclair for 4 years, 2008 to 2012. The work that I'm doing on Complete Streets is through the Voorhees Transportation Center, which is a fully funded offshoot of the New Jersey Department of Transportation, which, as I said, is a leader in Complete Streets. The state has its own policy. The state policy was ranked twice as the best state policy in the whole country. There are now 105 municipalities in New Jersey that have adopted municipal policies. These are usually resolutions, in some cases they're ordinances. And there are 7 counties that have Complete Streets policies. Hudson County is one of them. Your neighbors close by, Union City, Hoboken, Jersey City, Secaucus, Fort Lee, Elizabeth, Newark, many of the densely populated areas, municipalities in this area have adopted such policies and are beginning slowly to implement them. In many cases, a policy is really a foot in the door. It helps staff, planners, engineers start to look at every opportunity there might be. If a street is being milled and paved, as I see is happening right outside, you're considering the needs of all the users. That's what DOT does. If you're applying for state aid for any project, they're going to ask you, there's a checkbox, have you looked at pedestrian experience? Have you looked at the possibility of bike lanes? Have you done traffic calming? Those checkboxes are there. DOT wants you to do that. Municipal Complete Streets policy helps you keep track of that locally. Good policies have a checklist. Doesn't mean you do it every time, it means you consider it. You make sure that when you're milling your streets, you might do curb extensions, bump outs, things that would calm traffic. And you just look holistically about your whole area and how you link up those different facets of your community. So I wanted to show you, and this is a little chart. You can't see it at all, and you can't see it even in big pictures. This is a chart that I made of all the different parts of my municipality, Montclair, and it's happening throughout the state, that are linked up by complete streets. You've got community groups, advocacy groups, you've got municipal administration, not only administrators, you've got police who are interested in enforcing the traffic laws. Complete streets is not only the engineering that I talked about, but it's enforcement, it's education, it's evaluation of the streets, and it's encouragement. One person who's here is Nora Shepard. Nora is hiding behind me. Nora is also here to offer her assistance. She is the New Jersey Safe Routes to Schools coordinator for the National Safe Routes to Schools Partnership. This is about getting kids to school safely. Obviously, West New York, it's a big issue for you. You've got so many kids who are walking to school. As I said, that's a big advantage that you have. So it's those health interests, school interests, hospitals, houses of worship, you know, the people who use the streets most commonly, and as I said, most of the business groups. Business improvement districts are some of the biggest supporters of complete streets for that reason. And I'll just show you two very simple complete streets implementation, just using my time here. This is just a county road in our area. It doesn't look like much of West New York. Just like a lot of county roads in the state, just a big expansive blacktop. Cars are typically going down this road about 45, 50 miles an hour. We just had the county just stripe the road, do a basic road diet. So instead of just having asphalt on both sides, you know, expanses of it, so it looks like it's a 4-lane road. It just narrows it so the lanes are 11 feet in each direction. That cut the speeds down on the road by 10 to 15%. Just that white line. Didn't cost us anything. Very, very simple. These are happening throughout Hudson County, happening throughout Essex County as well. And this is something that's a little bit more familiar to the look of it. This is our heart of our central business district. It just looked like a big parking lot in some ways, a lot of diagonal parking. We had an image of making it more of a pedestrian-friendly thing, similar to what you see in New York City and some other areas like Hoboken. The reason why I show this, the pictures of this, is because this looks like a really expensive project and one that it would be very hard to get municipal support for and dollars, particularly because of the you know, the huge tax burden that all New Jersey municipalities have. This is the way it looks now. We had the support of the most conservative people in our municipality for spending $1.1 million on this, because they did the math, and the commercial rate of the increase in property values for those businesses that were in the heart of our central business district were going to more than twice pay for the hard costs of this. And these types of things are, they're competition of all around you, New York City and from Hoboken and other places, as we heard earlier. Whatever you can do to make the experience for pedestrians and cyclists in your area more appealing just helps you in the long run. So sorry for taking perhaps a little bit more time than we had. I'd be happy to answer any questions, although I realize there's there's not much time.
Just to make a comment based on what he ended up with streets, as part of the master plan, one of the proposals is to take Berglund Avenue and expand it so it can look like a complete street. So we are we're talking about that as we speak before the master plan is done.
That's a perfect time to be looking at that.
So we actually have some measurements as to what we have now for the street and what we would need in order for some of that to be.
But we're not Montclair. I moved here from Montclair, and it's a lot different here, and I don't know if you've gone around.
There's 105 municipalities in New Jersey that have policies, including Jersey City, Newark, and all different types of municipalities.
Just let me know.
I welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe we should have a private meeting, say, we're available Friday. And, we get the input of the town, see what they say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
anybody of West New York. My name is Angel Martin, 432 Street, West New York. Mr. Mayor, okay, I have a question. Last meeting, last 10 days, right, we approved the budget, the new budget, right, for 2014, right? And you mentioned, and Mr. Scarinci mentioned very clear, there is 0 tax increase. Is that correct? Right? How will this happen if the Hudson County Tax Board, right, shows me on September 11 that the new tax rate for a property tax in West New York is $66.92 instead of $66.50 that it was a year prior to this? How can you explain this? 0 increase, and we're getting, yes, yes.
You said it's now 66.92.
Yes, but versus 66.50, right? That was last year, right? 2013 tax rate. How can you explain 0 tax increase when the tax increase it becomes to be 1.01%?
That's, the answer is very simple. That's the county rate, not our rate.
If I might, I'm a certified county tax administrator. There are 4 components on that sheet that comprise.
6 components.
Yeah, but
We pay 6 taxes.
Right, well, the open space, you have the library tax, and the old school debt tax, very, very simple. The main components are you start the school, the county, and the township. And what happens, the town did not raise the budget 0. But what happens is you could also have a loss in rateables from successful tax appeals from property owners that filed assessment challenges. So what happens is your rateables are $500 million in 2013, and they dropped down to $472 million in 2014, and you still need $50 million, and that number didn't increase from their budget. You do get a slight penny increase. But I didn't analyze the rate. I'm just back from vacation. I can take a look at it, and find out exactly where the rates are up. But my guess is that based on successful tax appeals, that they were.
I think he's referencing
But the county tax, this is a tax rate that we all pay in West New York. All the property owners.
municipal tax rate. Municipal tax increase is 0.
Okay, what's the municipal tax increase with 0? Which kind of these 6 taxes is the municipal tax? I'd like to find out where that 0 comes from, because from the county itself, they lower our tax 4.01%. The county itself this year, last year it was 3%, and the year before it was 3%. The amount of taxes that we pay to the county. Now, this is coming from the Hudson County Board of Taxation, and let me think.
The number right up here is the rateables.
Yeah, the rateable, that's correct. But no matter, the taxes we pay has been risen. So they say 0 tax increase, and the tax rate that we pay all 6 taxes. That's correct. But I'd like to find out how the municipal taxes, with all this rate involved, and all the municipal taxes included, doesn't come to 0.
0.
0.
No. 0 means from 66.52, right? From 66.50 to 66.92 per $10,000 valuation on the property. How you meant?
You see, on this form, it says the amount to be raised by taxation, that did not increase. That's our governing bodies holding the line for 0. However, if you have, the school may have gone up, the county may have gone up, or the rateables may have gone down. So if we have an amount to be raised by taxation that's the same, and you have less rateables, you could get a.
But no matter. 0 tax increase means we're gonna keep paying $66.50 per $10,000 valuation on the property.
For the city.
Show me with numbers, because I am rude and I can learn, but I show me with mathematics how you came out to 0 with proper numbers.
The school tax, the school board increased the tax to the maximum that it could, which is 2%.
Now, wait a minute. The local school tax was risen, right, from 0.026, right? From 0.012 cents last year to 0.026. It equals to be 216.7% rise. That's the local school tax we are paying now in comparison to last year. Now, on the district school tax, right, we have been we have been risen from 1.583 last year, that was the rate, right, to 1.628. It is an increase of the 2.84%. Okay, these are the figures from the Hodson County Board of Taxation, September 11th of this year, 11:19 in the morning, the official. So the tax rate we're going to end up paying, right, is $66.92 per $10,000 valuation. So the tax has been increased.
No,
Same thing happened last year. You say zero tax increase.
zero.
Show me with numbers, because I am rude, but
Brian,
this
sit
is
down with him
something.
on Friday.
No, no.
I didn't see this year's form yet, I just came back from vacation, but I'll compare last year's form
Well-
from the county tax, but I know what you have in your hand.
Well, the point is, right, we have been paying taxes in 1981 in this town because we had a property in 1981. Every single year, we have been confronting the same situation. We are looking very closely, right, to the tax we pay. So we are not against the taxes being risen or being lower. We are looking also for the well-being of the whole town. But the services provided are completely zero. It's nil, I will say, right, in comparison to what we pay for. Remember, we are the third highest density of population in the whole United States, right? And even New York City pay less rate taxes than we do pay. I don't know, and I just hear there's going to be a new valuation, a new reevaluation of the
Mr.
property.
Barker, to be fair to the other people, if you like on Friday, sit down, Mr. O'Reilly, he'll explain to you when zero is good. Today,
Yeah,
zero
but
has-
I like you to publicize those figures because it doesn't come out that way from our pocket, right? On the other standpoint, according to the Board of Education, there are going to be a new election coming in November the 4th or the 5th, right? With, to choose 4 members for the board.
It has nothing to do with the zero.
No, but I like to mention one of the people being backed by your machinery, right? Stephen Rodas has so many violations of his property. Stephen Rodas has so many violations, and this violation coming even so from this week, from Monday.
Mr. Barker, I don't want to waste their time about other.
No, it's not
issues.
wasting time.
Wait a minute, other people speak. Whoa, man, we were watching the clock. Let him
He
speak.
has 5 minutes, if you were counting.
Excuse me, sir, you allowed other people to speak when you like what they have to
Let's
say.
have, listen. please be
No,
respectful.
no, fair is
Come back
fair.
and ask me questions.
You can't make the rules up as you go along. This is, no, you're wrong, Mayor. Again, it's abuse of power. You can't hear what you want to hear.
Please sum up, please sum up.
Excuse me, sir, you didn't say that to the other people, sir. And no offense, you're a town employee. Sir, no disrespect, you're a town employee. No, sir, you don't tell me to sit down. You work for me.
Please sum up.
Don't forget yourself. Yeah, you do. You work for everybody here. Yeah, you do. But you won't in me.
I continue doing on this because on the last meeting of the Board of Education that the mayor was present there, and there was a problem with the busing of the students, right? It was so to the point that Stephen Roda being chosen the president of the Board of Education. The president of the Board of Education has so much power on all the decisions that being set up right for the well-being of the children and the education of the whole kids in the town, that he is following some kind of political pattern, and he's telling me lies because he on March 29th this year he publicized in Craigslist, and I have the document, that he's looking for to rent a room on a 3-bedroom apartment at Washington High, 172 Bermudia Avenue. Right? This was March 29, 2014. And he claimed he's living in West New York. To become member of the Board of Education trustee, being a trustee, you should have been living in town at least for a year. He has his address on his driver's license, okay, 515 67th Street. But the point is he has so many violations of the building, and now in the new place that he said he's living, number 32 67th Street, right, he had violation set up even this Monday, right, 2 days ago, right, and they continue being backed up by the machinery, right, by democratic machinery on the Board of Education. We can comply with this. I'm really sorry, okay? If you let me talk, I could talk, and I have the documents here, okay? We like, once we get together, I I would like to post it publicly, right, the zero figure increase, because I would like to post it publicly, right, all the figures you showed me that show zero tax increase, right, because we pay $66.92 now, instead of $66.50 for $10,000 valuation, Mr. Scalisi, okay? Remember, I am rude, but I try to learn, okay, so you show me better. With all your expertise, I don't know you to run for mayor on the next election. Okay?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Cesar Savino, 223 60th Street, 223 60th Street. The point I want to bring out is about the brand new machines that we have in our parking lot. I would just like to say they're very nice, you know, but to be quite honest, they're really robbing people. You know, and I mean that the new machines in the parking lot. I mean that literally robbing people. And what's going on there, I don't know if anybody parks in the parking lots, but if you park there for a certain amount of time, and they ask you for $1.50, and you put $2, doesn't give you change back. Yeah, this is really robbing the people. You know, this is outrageous. I mean, this is in your face. I mean, I feel bad putting $1 there and not getting my quarterback. I mean, I'm a great tipper, but I'm not gonna tip that machine for a quarter. I don't care. It's a quarter. Give me my quarterback.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did you address this matter to the director of the Department of
Well, you know what? It's difficult because I don't know why they have the meeting at 8 in the morning.
But you can walk in to his office. And
I don't even know because
what happens is
I don't know who's in there because there has been all new changes. Somebody from Holbrook and I don't know who that guy is. I knew you. I used to see you all the time, but I can't address it to you because you're no longer there.
But you need to address that matter to the director.
Yes, I know, but I'm addressing it here because these are the leaders, okay? You're the commissioners, okay? And he's the mayor, he has to oversee everything, okay? So that's why I'm addressing it here, you know, firsthand. And then I'll go myself to the parking authority, but I have to, you know, address it to him.
Cesar,
Yes.
Taking over down.
Oh, wait, but this is, listen, I'm not done, hold on. Another part of it.
That real quick. You know, he is right. In Florida, Miami, they have the same machines, and I put $5.
My time has not been counted.
No, it's not. He's right. He's right about the machine. So Cesar, you know what I encourage you to do? Talk to.
Where are they?
They're right here on 62nd Street in the parking lot. Now, another thing is, they only allow you to park for 2 hours. Now, I'm a school teacher. I'm teaching a class. And I already received 2 tickets. That's fine. But I'm teaching a class, and my class will not end until 11:45. I put 2 hours. I cannot put any more time. I'm in the middle of teaching a class. I cannot go out there. I have nobody to go put a quarter in my spot. I'm getting a ticket.
But the meter is the same thing. If you feed the meter, maximum is 2 hours in some cases.
In the old machine, you could put as many quarters as you can, and you could put more.
So one of the issues is not returning money, and the second one is maximum is 2 hours.
Maximum is 2 hours. And it's right next to school number 1 where there's 80 teachers there. And guess what? Another issue is the street sweeper. And this side is 9 to 12. I mean, come on. 9 to 12, are you serious? Where on the other side is a 3:30 after school hours. I mean, give us a break. There's a lot of teachers that drive. Almost all teachers drive to school. I drive to school because, you know, I don't like walking.
What was the
Hold on. But this is.
the third issue, what the sweeper?
Yeah, it's from 9 to 12. I mean, it's a mess over there. And everyone's complaining and disturbing the school because teachers are getting there late, you know, every Monday and Friday because they can't find parking. You know, and this is a problem, and it has to be addressed here because it affects our school, it affects our kids. You know, so I never go to the park. I gotta go to the head honcho here. You know, so.
But misunderstand, like for example, with the street sweeper, what happens is that during recess, the school streets closed. So we have, the parking authority has to work around the school being.
How about
closed
3:30?
during the day.
3:30.
But you said it's from 9 to 12.
It's from 9 to 12.
Different size, different size.
Yeah, from 9 to 12. How about you put it from 3:30 to 5 when everybody's out? You know, that's an easy fix. You know?
I think your concerns are taken, and I believe, are you off tomorrow?
No, I gotta work.
Me too, me too. Maybe Friday, if you get a break, come on and talk to him.
All right.
I'm across the street.
Alright, so that's something, in reality, it needs to be fixed because it's affecting in a negative way, you know, the school, the day of the school, and it's something negative, so it needs to be addressed.
Anything else with the machine, Caesar, besides those two topics?
No, that's it.
Change in the time.
Change. Good, I mean, who's collecting all that money? I mean, because there's an overage there.
No, there's gonna be a.
There has to be an overage, because if the machine says pay $1.50, I put $2, 50 cents left over. If you multiply that times 50 people, that's a lot of money.
And this is a question, does it specifically say no change given?
No, it doesn't say, it just doesn't give you the
It must be
money.
a technical error with the terminals, you have to look at that.
So, you know, I took that, you know what, I mean, I don't want to go there, but I took that, I don't want to say the word, but, you know, it's not good. It doesn't look good. You know, it doesn't look good because we're dealing with money. You know, we're dealing with money. And, you know, it looks a little bit fishy, if you know what I'm trying to say. You know, and it's like people are being robbed. I'm being robbed. You know, I know it's a quarter, but it adds up to, you know, $1, $100,
And if it doesn't change, you have to
$1,000.
display the fact that change is not giving a double terminal, some say that.
It doesn't say anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if it's not supposed to be like that's supposed to say, change is not given. But something must be wrong with the actual, the way that it's set up. So
All right.
I'll talk to you.
I know, in the ordinance, 2, it was tabled by Mr. Springy, and, this question is particularly for you, in terms of tax abatement. I know how it's distributed, most of the revenue some goes to the county, but 100% comes to, you know, town. How about some of that gets, you know, partially gets some for the funding for the school? Because, you know, is there a way we could distribute some of that revenue from the tax abatement? Not just the town getting all those revenue? Is there a way that could happen? Because I don't know if you recall, or if you, prior to you coming here, there was a big issue with tax abatement over the waterfront, and people were against it. And you know what? If it's gonna help, but my only issue is that our school is not getting, you know, anything. You know, and most of the funding is coming to the town. Correct myself
You
if I.
finish and then I'll answer your question. You're on there. We interrupted you a couple times. I'll answer your question, but you can sum up and then I'll answer your question.
Well, and my concern is, you know, and a lot of resident concern is that, you know, it's unfair that most of the revenue is coming here to the town and nothing's going to the school, especially with the situation that we're in. And you alluded to the situation with the transportation, that the board has a problem transporting the kids because it was economic, right? So we actually we broke, basically. You know, and you know that's the Board of Ed fault because they're not, you know, they overspending that. You know, that's my belief. Because if you make $1,000, you're not gonna spend $1,000. Okay, if you should have a surplus, you should have a savings for a situation like this. Well, thank the mayor for coming through with the share service. You know, hopefully that will get, you know, fixed. I don't know when. When is that gonna happen? Soon?
We put the bread for him to take it, and we wrote the resolution. You were there at the last meeting. He said he was going to make a special commission just for transportation. So it's on his hand to take action. And we're here already. We said we're going to help.
All right. So with that being said, is there anything that it could be done for these tax abatement where the school could benefit from that? You know, not just the town.
See, I'll answer that question. long-term tax exemptions, the town keeps 95% of the revenue, and 5% goes to the county. When I say long-term, it's greater than 5 years. There's two different statutes. Under the 5-year provision, the county and schools get distributed equally, whatever the apportionment of the tax is. So when there's a 5-year exemption, it's a 5-year phase, and this is a
Like this
short-term
one,
exemption,
okay.
yes. You get your share of the land and your share of the building. And what happens, the assessor evaluates the income that's proposed in the agreement. The first year is land assessment and 0. County gets their fair share of that, and the schools, and the town. Then it goes 20% of the assessment, 40% the next year, 60%, and that money gets distributed amongst all 6 entities. Some of them are very minuscule, but all 3 major entities. Long-term is very different. The answer to the long-term is they would need legislation from the state to get any money directly to the schools from that.
Well, it could be done.
All you need is legislation. The answer to that is yes, sir.
All right. So, I guess in the future, we should look into that because, let's all get a piece of the pie, not just, the town.
Listen, if you can take like a couple hours in the morning on Friday, I have a meeting with you and the director. I know, I've got the same problems, he said, I know. So maybe after hours,
How about Saturday? Best.
I'm in the surgical center.
Saturday? Sunday?
Sunday morning.
All right.
Talk to him.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
In regards to this resolution as far as the buses to the children, I just want everybody, as always, I bring it forward to you direct, and I tell you right away. I'm not happy with what we were able to do. This is not, it's not sufficient enough for me. I have a child right now who's in the school system. He started this year in pre-K. And I am worried about his safety. I'm worried about whether, of course, he's 4 years old, I don't want to walk by himself. But there are a lot of children here now that are going to be affected by this as far as having to walk from where they were going to school, having to pay St. Joe's. What I feel has been going on here, pretty much what I know is going on, is a lot of finger pointing. Okay, Board of Ed against the township, against the mayor back at him. I think this is a weak effort on our part. The money that they're providing is only $100,000. This is not to provide a bus. Okay, because it was corrected in the work session that would not be the case. It was not for buses, it was to help assist in the Board of Ed to what they were going to decide to do. The only thing that this can be done with this particular money is to increase the time afterwards at the school. So instead of them having to leave at 3 o'clock, they're willing to keep the teachers there until 5. And it's not solving the whole situation. There's been many issues with the parents. It's more than one, whether it's a kid getting picked up, going from daycare, picking them up, or bringing them to school, or whatever the issue might be. But it's not sufficient. And I don't like what I'm seeing here. I have children, young kids, and I know what it is to have to worry about that. Just that day when we protested, there was over, just the 20 people that were with me, 11 people were missing work that day. Okay, didn't get paid that day, didn't have the money to feed their families. And there's still going to be a situation where that's continuing. Obviously, this is still going to create a problem for a certain amount of parents that can't resolve this situation whether they have the money or don't. And I'm not behind this. I'm not happy with the resolution that was brought here to vote for. I have to go on something, but this isn't. I would have done a lot more than what was done here. And I think that, Mayor, you need to start getting this situation with the superintendent corrected. I don't know what's going on between you and him, and the pointing fingers. I understand there's a lot of background here, investigation in the state, and I think if you're taking this anger and this fight and politics you're putting in between the children, which is the most important thing here right now, and that needs to be taken care of. So if there was another opportunity with the budget, the administrator, CFO, or whatever it might be to make this happen, I mean, but I don't see this getting corrected properly. I don't think this is being handled properly. And I don't support this as what's been going on, but it needs to change. And you're a mayor, you're supposed to be a leader of the community. You're supposed to make peace here, no matter what it would take with that Board of Ed to make those people go their way. And I understand like, you don't have people appointed to the board anymore. You're losing your members of the board. That your cronies, should I say, have been dissipating little by little. And in November, it will continue to lose more members. So, and I'm praying for the best in the election that we do have 4 people who are elected by the people, for the people, to work for them.
Sheila Dunn. I'd just like to go back on 117. I'd like to go back on the topic as far as the streets are concerned. We do pay a lot of money to have our streets cleaned, but it's the people that work there are in cleaning them. I mean, I see the green machine, they go around in the middle of the street, there's all garbage over here, and they go down and they're not picking anything up. That's not the town's fault, it's the person that's working. And I would like to go around and I'll tell you what guys are doing it, because I do call up. People got a ticket, and the street guy came, he didn't clean the streets. He left it all dirty and went down this way. And I think it's a darn shame, because there's a lot of people that could use a job. Thank you.
I want to go on record.
Microphone, Nancy. Microphone, can't hear you. Put it up to now.
I'd like to go on record that I'm not against development, but it needs to be responsible development and not overdevelopment. I'm a concerned citizen about the quality of life here. I too suffer from getting on overcrowded buses in the morning and in the evening, and I think the character of our neighborhood is changing. There's a potential loss of light, views, the increase in traffic pollution and noise. I think it comes down to our zoning laws, and that were written to protect us from this type of oversized development that's going on all over our town. And I believe, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, are supposed to be representing the best interest of the people of New York, the people who elected you. And I have some deep concerns from the previous Meridia debacle that occurred here. And the thing that was so shocking to me was the fact that, I don't know who, how these members get on board. Maybe you could clarify that to me.
What we do is we have a selection process. First, it's hard to get people on the board.
I know people who have applied and have had no response from you.
Yeah, well, maybe you want to give me those names,
I
because we
certainly
have, we constantly keep replenishing, and what we're seeing is the fact that we're not getting paid, a lot of times it just don't show up. So we try to get as much qualified personnel, and it's.
There is the word, because I don't know, maybe someone can tell me how many months we were sat here and when, how many? 13 months we were here. And at the conclusion, and it was somewhat technical, I still don't quite understand the garbage and the driveway and this and that, but not one of your people that you were on that board asked a question. I don't know whether they couldn't read. I don't know whether they didn't understand, like I didn't understand some of the issues. But to not ask one question and then just vote it in was absolutely an insult to any of us who sat here for 13
The zoning board?
Zoning board, okay. Just to piggyback real quick, comment on that, I'm with you on that, without a doubt. It's funny that we had another board member appointed here. I never met the guy, and I don't know if did anyone use meet this particular guy? So why wasn't that I having that? Did you meet him, Ruben? You sat down to gentlemen. Why didn't I sit with the
First called my office and I gave him the appointment that I sent.
Nobody called my office. Well, they continue, the antics go on again and again. These are people that are for them, for the machine, and their agenda, should I say. That's what it's all about. Don't ever forget this. Just keep this in mind. This is what they do to the outside guy who wants to see qualified people sitting here, which obviously they don't. And I don't have no idea who the gentleman is. But this has been ongoing for the past year and a half. And I know the community's got a little quiet about it, and I understand the high-rise got stopped, but now that the project's coming back again, I understand that you're there, and I will be there for you. I will go to those sessions if I need to. Thank you.
Good evening, sorry. Natalie Brixton, 6701 Kennedy Boulevard East. I'm also here to talk about Meridian Boulevard. This proposal that is supposed to take place on 20,000 square feet. And it's a 13-story building at the corner of 67th Street and Kennedy Boulevard East, right? For a 13-story building, what they're proposing, they would actually need a minimum of 40,000 square feet. They have half of that. With 20,000 square feet, they are allowed to build a 3-story townhouse. The proposal is outrageous by its demands, by its size, and it will really damage the quality of life in the neighborhood. We dump 200 to 300% at the local bus stops that are already crowded, long line at both authority, standing room only on the bus, and then it would take away, there's I think about 50 cars that park in that lot right now. We take away those parking, and it would bring in more cars in the neighborhood, and it would just, make it even worse regarding the parking situation.
Excuse me, ma'am, you've been on the board of the
Yes, I have been at the zoning board, and it was about 2 years that we went there, we made comments, we asked questions, and just like Nancy said, nobody asked any question. The members on the zoning board, nobody asked any question, made any comments. We had no idea what they were thinking. And to us, that was the worst thing.
And how far along is that project?
Well, now they came back with a second application, which is going to be heard tomorrow, as a matter of fact. And it's a 13-story building, but now instead of 123 units, it's 157. So it got bigger. So I just want to talk about, just make like a couple of comments, because I'm really concerned about the quality of life in the town. And this is just one example, but it's happening all over town, I'm afraid. When we talk, when we present those facts, and when we present those projects to different boards, we hear two arguments. We hear in defense of those kind of developments, those really big ones. We hear, number one, that, well, the population is growing. And number two, well, this is good for the economy of the town. Okay, so number one, the population is growing. It's a fact. It's true. The population is growing. Does it mean that it all has to move to West New York, the third or second most densely populated town in the country? I think we really need to look at our zoning law and why they were implemented, and what it means to have zoning law, and what it means to have a really good master plan. Because it's about controlling that population. And by controlling the population, you preserve the quality of life in this town. We have issues with parking. We have issues with mass transit. We cannot be compared anymore to New York City. We don't have a subway system to move massive amount of people. We're not like that. We're just West New York. And it's difficult enough for us. So, I just, there are so many things, so many projects that could raise the economy of this town without bringing developer from out of town and making us believe that, oh, well, it's going to be very good for the economy of the town. There are so many things that we need, and parking is one of them. And, public facilities, indoor swimming pool, for example, movie theater, or shopping where we can that we can actually access. If you look at our map, actually I do have a map that I borrowed from the master sorry. The area in red, you see the area in red?
Excellent.
Area in red, it's Bergen Line, right? That's where all the commercial area, the retails are, right? That's Bergen Line, right? So this is great. All this, you know, like commercial area is great if you to shop. If I don't know if I can do this. Okay, it's great if you live.
If you live like right around here, you can shop. And you can take advantage of this retail and commerce area. If you live around here, it's fine. But if you live here, you know what happens if you live here? You know where your money goes when you live here? Your money goes to your neighbors. Your money goes to headquarters of Duty. Your money goes to headquarters for even food shopping, for everything. It's like, how do we keep the money in? How do we bring it back in? How do we unify the standards? Like so like,
I'm sorry. This time really needs to be unified. That may be another project. Maybe the first project that we need to look at. It's like, how do we bring this? You know, how do we find a center for West New York, so that people who live here can shop here and spend their money here, and not elsewhere. So maybe we need to look at our transportation system. You know, how do we bring the people who are by the water all the way up here to spend their money? How do we do that? I mean, these are questions that we really need to ask before we bring more people. So once we have a good system, that works, then maybe we can bring more people. But right now, it's a disaster, and we really need to, like, one more thing. We really need to look at what they're trying to do with that proposal of Meridian Boulevard. That, you know, they have proposed many times a 12-story, 13, even a 15-story building over the years, and it was always rejected. It was rejected because it really violates our zoning law by a lot, really by a lot. So I think, you know, when projects that outrageous by their demands are proposed, I don't think it shouldn't even reach the zoning board. They shouldn't even be considered. They're so ludicrous because what they're doing really, they're turning our zoning board into a mockery. I mean, if they approve this, why do we have a zoning board and zoning laws? Why? Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Barbara M. Gaffney.
Let me just add this.
Margaret M. Gaffney, G as in George, double F as in Frank, N-E-Y. G as in George, A, double F as in Frank, N-E-Y.
And your address?
6600 Boulevard East. Well, like several of the previous speakers, Meridia is the impetus for my school. It's not the only issue, or the only high-rise we have going on in town. There's one further down the boulevard, which is replacing an empty one-family house with an apartment that's, I believe, over 100, apartment building with, I believe, over 100 apartments. Meridia is replacing service station and 2 one-family homes with 157 apartments, most of which are 2 or 3 bedrooms. So we're talking about more than one person per apartment, and possibly much more than one person per apartment. And while I realize it's out of your jurisdiction, Guttenberg is also considering a 150 or 200 unit apartment just 2 blocks north. I've sat in these zoning board meetings for 2.5 years now, and I have never heard the developer talk about the impact on our sewage treatment system. I've I've never heard a question from the board about it. And the reason why this is a concern to me, when I moved here 15 years ago, which was about the time the waterfront had just been developed and occupied, the sewage treatment plant, which incidentally is just below my bedroom window, was operating at 133% of capacity. It stank. Thank God I don't have a good sense of smell. It was doubled in size, but now we're having all this additional development, and I'm concerned that no one is looking at the impact of the total development in the town on things like our sewage treatment system and its capacity to carry all this additional burden. The developers keep saying, there'll be no children, it's all one-bedroom apartments, and they're lying, or they're mistaken, one or the other. And there's no study on what is actually happening in the population of the schools. It's going up. And why? Because we're building multiple occupancy buildings to replace one family or two family buildings. Naturally, you're going to get a lot more kids. The payment in lieu of taxes is reducing the money to the schools. Now, I'm not a parent, unlike you, Mr. Wiley, but I'm concerned because the quality of the schools is an integral part of the value of my home when I go to resell. If the school system is not good, I've got a 2-bedroom, I'm not going to be able to find a buyer who's going to be willing to pay the price that I will need, because there's not a good school system, and we need to get money to the school system. So these are issues I think that, and I don't know whether this consideration is to come from the town engineer, but it must be considered, and it must be communicated to the zoning board, and it must be part of the consideration in the zoning board. Quite frankly, as Nancy had said, there were no questions other than the chairman. The chairman did ask questions, and he was one of the 2 nay votes. And after a scathing indictment, the other people who never asked a question, I. And the arrogance, I can only describe it as arrogance of the developer in refusing to make any concessions, and the way the zoning board just rolled over. Whether it's true or not, it gives the appearance that there is a payoff. But it certainly looks that way. At the very least, we've got to have more active participation by the members of the zoning board in actually listening to and questioning and actually forcing some concessions. I mean, the Meridia actually, it's in a medium density zone, and it has a higher number of apartments per acre than the Versailles, which is a high density zone. And that's just turning the zoning laws upside down. It's like saying black is white and the sun sets in the east and rises in the west. I mean, this is ludicrous. I'm sorry to get so emotional, but this is the frustration we're feeling in town, and we just feel we're not being listened to. Because nothing changes.
I understand you, I feel you, without a doubt. And this is these tax abatements that they've been given away one after the other. In total, about 5. One of them cost us $65 million in uncollected taxes the next 20 years. And I know Sabino was following on with this, the percentage goes to the school. School doesn't get anything. So these increase in these number of apartments, children, etc., are not being paid for by people, the taxes that should be. And it is sad because you, the taxpayers here who live in here, do bear that burden. And I'm there, I've always voted against it, I've always voted to you. The one other thing got me upset was this Jackman handbag factory project that's coming up. This building is done already. Now they're coming back for another 5-year abatement. After the building's almost done, their other buildings are all rented out already within less than 3 to 5 months, or bought, or whatever the situation was. I'm against this, guys, but this is gonna continue to happen as long as this administration sits here. All right, so you need to remember that. And this mayor isn't taking any responsibility for anybody's, for the burden that you're bearing here. And again, he isn't listening to you. When he can't even make an appointment with the gentleman on a Friday, Saturday, why don't you make yourself available for the people here in West End? Why don't you go out of your way, take a little time off like I do, 3 or 4 days a week, I take out of my time, I take a day off work if I have to meet somebody. That's the responsibility you should be doing, not 3 hours a week or even that. And we came here on Friday with the protest, you weren't here. You answered the phone, no, I'm not coming. That's an embarrassment. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. White.
My name is Nicolas Santos. I live on 107 65th Street.
First name is?
Nicolas
Nicholas?
Santos, S-A-N-T-O-S,
S-A-N-T-O-S?
yeah.
And the address?
107 65th Street.
65th, thank you.
I'm here to talk about the bus situation in number 6 school. Some questions for you, Mr. Mayor, and some comments, I guess. I have a letter here that you sent to Mr. Fauta on September 3rd, 2014, where you say that on behalf of the commissioners of the town of West New York, you want him to demand the refusal to provide bus transportation, and you go on to say, this is a serious matter of public safety involving the children of our community, and the town of West New York is empowered by law to act if you continue to refuse to do so. And the last sentence on your letter says, please contact me as soon as possible to discuss the resolution of this issue for the safety of the children of the town of West New York. Which is great that you see that this is a safety issue. The letter was received on September 8th by Mr. Fauta, and on that same day he replied to you, and he said, please provide me with dates when town representatives are available to discuss shared services options. So he replied to you that same day. This was about a week ago. I was wondering if you have met with him, and if not, why not?
Yeah, we have, and I will explain it.
Well, I was asking you.
No, but he can tell you the facts, what they talked about. He talked to the board attorney and the administrator there.
I had the conversation, in fact, we've been, since that letter and since that exchange, we've had several conversations, and we've been attempting to negotiate with the superintendent of schools. And, you know, and I prefaced, I'm sorry, let's see if, can you hear me now? Yes. And I prefaced with the fact that it's very low. Is yours better? Is yours better? And I prefaced.
You're gonna hold it up to the
wall.
Yeah,
I'll just hold it. It's very low today. And I prefaced with the fact that the chief school administrator has sole discretion to recommend or not recommend what they do here. So the pressure that we have brought to bear on the situation has been economic. We've offered to pay, and we've offered to come up with money. For whatever reason, they don't seem to want to do this. Today, we had it's on the agenda tonight, and I made sure they knew we were going to pass this tonight. There was a unanimous feeling that the municipality needs to do something, even if the school board superintendent chooses to do nothing. And so the conclusion of the conversation today, and it's not the final word, resulted in John Fauta has said that he has communicated with all of the parents and asked a series of questions. I asked if he met with the parents. He hasn't done it that way. And his conclusion is that the issue is not busing the students. The issue is in keeping them in a wraparound program so that the parents who drop them off in the morning will be able to pick them up at the end of the workday. And what he wants to use the city's money for is to provide a wraparound program with educators as opposed to buses. I can't tell you his thinking. I, on behalf of the commissioners, insisted that before he does this, that he communicate to the parents again and discuss this option of a wraparound program.
If I may, we've been once around between you guys and the Board of Education. We are, it's a little fatiguing. On the letter, Mr. Mayor, you say that by law, by law, you have the power to do something about it, right? So if you don't agree with the Mr. Afauta's idea, if you think that school buses are the solution, which is what us the parents believe, and by law you have the power to do something, can you, I mean, as you say here, you want to provide the buses, why don't you do so? And also, a second question, follow-up. At one point we asked for crossing guards as a solution, and we were told that the money was frozen, that the city had no funding, that we couldn't pay the extra hours for the crossing guards. So I was wondering how come all of a sudden you have the money. I know election time is coming and everyone wants to look good, but just that was my follow-up question.
Let me address a couple of things. First of all, on the crossing guard issue, I'll ask Brian to speak to that. We have the two things, just so you're clear about this.
That's great.
There is a hiring freeze here, so so more people can't be hired. However, people can be redeployed, and I'm going to let Brian speak to the redeployment of the crossing guards and the additional police presence that you've seen, in the area by the school.
On behalf of the township, Commissioner Rodriguez, we met with the school district a few times. The police department has reallocated 5 of its school crossing guards to the immediate area encompassing circular from the Bain School to the St. Joe's. We also have replaced a few crossing guards that either resigned, didn't come back to work, or on a leave. So the police department is satisfied at the meetings that we have that they were reallocating 5, and we put a couple of replacements on. They're going to be strategically close to the locations as possible. In addition, the police department is having a patrol car that's going to patrol up and down the walking areas. It doesn't satisfy the people that either need after-school attention or that need the busing, because the town believes that, the paramount to the student safety is #1, and I think walking is okay now. They have some what they call transportation aids, some parental aids, but when it comes rainy November, when you got 7-year-olds carrying backpacks, I think the whole paradigm of that walking to school is going to change. It's going to change terribly. So the mayor and this commission and council, we've been down. I've been in Faust's office 5 times in the past 5 weeks. I was on vacation last week, and we're still trying to dig out underneath from the barriers that they keep putting around us regarding that. But the police department has reallocated school crossing guard resources. If you want an update, I'll speak to Officer Martinez tomorrow or Friday morning.
No, actually my question was, we did ask for crossing guards before, and we were told that there was no money for the crossing guards because the funds were frozen. The question is about money, it's not about if you guys are going to do it.
They were looking just to hire crossing guards, and while crossing guards are an asset at the intersections, the age of these children, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, they gotta walk out. There's driveways there, there's businesses there, there's gas stations there. It's different. It's just not a crossing guard issue. The answer was we reallocated 5 and we've hired a couple. So we believe we're comfortable with the crossing guard issue.
All right, but going back to the money, because you know, you were told that there was no money for it, that the funds were frozen. It is obviously much more expensive to hire new buses, to hire people to drive the buses, teacher aides to look after the kids. So I was wondering how come all of a sudden there is this money available, and why wasn't this money put into place before this became an issue? Hopefully, before the school year started.
You're using the wrong term. It's not that funds were frozen. There is a hiring freeze. We can't hire more people in this community until December 31st, when the freeze expires, okay? The money that was offered to the school board, which I believe is an Abbott district, right? So, I mean, I know I've heard a lot of people talk about how poor the school district is, but I think you should take a look at the budget at the school board. It is an Abbott district. So, but the excuse that the superintendent was using was the cost of it, and clearly the city has now taken that away. That is can no longer be used as an excuse. So the problem is, the only the city, cannot hire people to drive buses, get the buses, and bus school children. There's no one on the city side that has that certification nor could we do that. There's no one here who are educators or who are people who are certified to do that. The only people who could do that is the Board of Education, and the only way they can do that is with the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. So all we've done, which is a significant thing, is to take away their excuse for not doing it. And the rest of your, your persuasion should be directed at the superintendent.
So one last question. Do you think we could have a meeting where you are present, the superintendent is present, and the parents are present also, so we can hear both sides of the argument, and maybe with the pressure of the community in this meeting, something will get resolved finally?
I requested that today and suggested that the parents all be brought in. Instead of the superintendent sending out questionnaires or whatever it is he's doing to communicate, I suggested that he invite everyone to a meeting, and all of the affected individuals to a meeting, and discuss what the best use of the city's money would be. Because if we're going to give them the money to solve their problem, then we want to be sure it solves the parents' problem.
Thank you, Mayor, for answering the questions.
Good evening, my name is Connie Lizarazo. Lizarazo. L-I-Z-A-R-A-Z-O. L-I-Z-A-R-A-Z-O. 63rd Street. I'm here on behalf of the parents that couldn't make it today because they have jobs. And I have to ask these questions because they're watching Hudson View, and they'll see if I ask these questions or not. So here we go. The question is to you, Mayor. Has the town paid the Board of Education for the busing of the kids at Porter Curio?
Like Mr. Scarizzi said, we put our best effort forward to tell Mr. Falta here.
He doesn't understand the question.
I'm sorry.
The mayor doesn't understand the question.
Has the town paid the Board of Education for busing the kids at Porter Curio?
No.
No. Okay. Because that's the reason the kids, this is the reason why the parents were asking. If you haven't paid the Board of Education the money for the kids according to our schools here. How do you all of a sudden have money to come up for the buses idea that you said that you were going to provide?
What do we have? We have a shared service agreement with them.
I believe the former
Let the mayor
administrator,
answer.
excuse me, I believe the former
Let the
administrator.
mayor
Let the mayor.
Please understand something. The mayor is the figurehead. You have a specialist.
Figurehead.
This is like. Yes or no? You want to hear the answer?
Please,
Thank you.
they're watching.
There is a shared services agreement with the town that reimburses the school district as part of an overall package for transportation from Port Imperial. The answer to your question is yes.
So, the town did pay the Board of Education for the transporting.
Does pay, yes.
But did it?
Did it pay?
According to the Board of Education, what I was told is that they haven't been paid for a year.
Well, they have an agreement, I could check the records, I don't know. But no, there is an agreement, I'm telling you. So we, in the agreement, they're responsible to pay to the bus. Whether the former administrator paid it or not, or whether it's up to date, I can only check. I'm only in this position 2 months and then but if you're happy to check that, I'll be happy to check that.
So, the answer
2 months on the
is
job and on vacation
maybe
already.
they've been paid for
It's a great job.
the transportation of the kids from Port Imperial to.
Wow, I want to work in that
Maybe.
position.
It's been paid.
Well, the answer is, there's an agreement. Whether they've been paid or not, I don't have that answer.
So, no one knows.
So, find out. That's why I know right now, I just answered, I don't know.
Well, I do know that we've got no notice of any default. So if we haven't paid, there's no notice of any default. So you have to assume we have been paid, we have paid. Otherwise, they would have let us know that.
Thank you.
Ron Shirley, 6119 Tyler Place, West New York, New Jersey. I'd like to ask a question about our taxes. When are we going to receive our tax bill?
I'm going to say within a week, Brian?
They're promulgating the bills right now, they should
Yeah.
be on now.
Now, we're going to have to pay that within 20 days?
The answer to that.
Yes.
They're going to go out?
When are we going to receive the next tax bill?
Next coming month. You'll get all 4 bills at the same time, you'll get the third, fourth, and the.
What do you think is going to happen to the people of West New York who are not rich and then you hold this back for so long? Why did you hold it back? You know, some people can't come up with the money. This, oh, you guys, horrible.
You answer the question, I'll be happy to answer it. If you don't like the answer, I mean, it is what it is.
Just like you told me that all they needed, they get $27,000 the employees. Meaning that's people who work 20 years to 25 years to get that money, and a few people together will make 27. So you know all of it now.
I'm not a big mouth, I just answered your question. The bill is
Uh-huh.
45 days, the November bill will be due by November 9th, and the first and second quarter, get all 4 bills at one time.
All 4 bills at one time.
You get the third, fourth.
We're gonna get 2 bills that we have to pay in a month and a half. This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous government. Now, on this fellow, who's in the Board of Education president, all these, Rhoda?
Yes.
He is put as the president of the Board of Education, and he has all these things against him that he's, I can't say he's a criminal, but anybody who does what he's doing reminds me of Silvio Costa, what he did. It's ridiculous. Have a nice day. I hope you can sleep.
Hi, I need some, Pat Collins, 7267th Street. I need some clarification. Ms. Connie Lizarazo, the de facto spokesperson for her concerned group of parents, had a very good question. I'm not sure if it was adequately answered. She wanted to know if the town was providing bus service for the waterfront, and the answer is correct, that it is, right?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Mayor, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, one military man for another, but I think you might want to change your word to say that you're a figurehead mayor, because a figurehead mayor has no authority, like the Queen of England is a figurehead. She's head of state, but she's not head of government. So you're more than that, Mayor. You are the top elected official. We elected you as commissioner, but it was preordained at the beginning that you would be the mayor. You are the titular head of our government. So I appreciate it, sir, that unless you can answer the question, that you answer the questions that I ask and my brothers and sisters in the audience ask, and not Mr. Scrinsy or Mr. O'Malley or anyone else.
You were in the military.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you have staff, and these are my staff, and they're the experts of what I do.
Your staff was not elected. You were elected, sir. You were elected.
You're correct, thank you.
Also, your predecessors to this office, whenever they had to convene, like you had to necessarily convene for that private thing about, law-related matters, they would, and I checked with a few of my knowledgeable brothers and sisters in the hallway, they would excuse themselves and leave and not expect the audience to excuse themselves. My 83-year-old mother brought this up a few months ago when you had us wait out in the stifling heat in the hallway, and she said shame for doing that. So in the future, I'd encourage you and your staff to please go into another building and not inconvenience the people here. Let us sit here, at least, when you have to do that. All right, now I want to get to the matters at hand. Mention was made of Mr. Rodas. Mr. Rodas is a appointee of the people that you appointed to the Board of Education. I have nothing against Mr. Rodas. Mr. Rodas also worked the campaign for your candidates who didn't win, by the way, in January, and then he wouldn't answer that question when I did see him working at the polls. No one is above the law, and I would encourage you to look into these fines. I know he has time to address these fines and to correct them, and he has his day to, give his side of the story as well. I'm not trying to convict the man. But Mr. Shirley did mention Mr. Silvio Acosta, who was fined $500,000, and someone else mentioned zoning boards where people don't answer questions. Well, apparently not when they approved Mr. Acosta having his 4 illegal apartments. At Losey reduced one of them. They gave the blessing to a 5 apartment at 6608, and then wanted to form a zoning board. So Mondo Alvarez actually bought that property in a short sale. That's illegal. Your current DPW commissioner sitting at this forum here, he's not your staff, he's an elected official, was fined $10,000 for property at 50/50 Grant. Your deputy mayor was fined $10,000 or $20,000 for properties 50/50 Grant, and that was brought against the zoning board, and the zoning board blessed it. Now, are you going to have your elected officials and your appointed officials pay their fines, or are you going to sweep it under the rug?
Patrick, I'm going to tell you, I don't know what you're talking about. As far as what
Well, Mr. Highness wrote articles about this. Maybe you can ask Mr. Highness and he'll give you the newspaper reference, the Jersey Journal, in 2011, 2012. Okay, what I'd like to ask is Mr. Freed, who came here and gave a presentation. I think it's more than a coincidence about the complete streets that the West New York Planning Board, in which Commissioner Freed sits on, is about to consider revising the master plan, all right? And as someone said, Montclair ain't West New York, all right? And it certainly isn't New York City that Mr. Freed, is he still here? No, he left. That quoted, New York City has the best mass transit system perhaps in the world. No, Tokyo does. I was stationed there for 2.5 years. But the United States, perhaps they do. They have great subway systems where people can move, massive amounts of people can be moved underground. We don't have that here. So what Mr. Freed is going to do, hand in hand with the master plan that Miss Natalie Breakstone produced, and by the way, this...
Your 5 minutes are done.
Now, I'm the first person you said that to. You allowed Mr. Freed to speak for 12 minutes, you allowed other people to speak, and now you're cutting me off.
Patrick, your 5 minutes are done. You can stay talking. I'm just going to give you your 5 minutes.
All right.
Listen, I'm not tired, huh?
All right, thank you. Back to this zoning map, the blue is the east, you know, Hudson River, and then my right hand here is North Bergen. If you look at the brown here, this is an existing planning board meeting. I wish people would have been at the last planning board session, because you would see that this amount of brown would be treble the amount of brown that they're proposing. They're proposing a lot of brown areas in Jefferson and Adams Street. And to Board Commissioner Clara Brita Herrera, she actually politely disagreed with Commissioner Frias, and they compromised. They did compromise on the brown area. The brown area is high density, which means you could have 15-story buildings here. So Mr. Fried's Complete Streets program is going to do very well for the gentrified, upscale, wealthy people that have their own assigned parking. If the zoning board and planning boards allows these 15-story monstrosities to add to our third-ranked, densely populated municipality in the country, but the people that need their cars to get from point A to point B in West New York are going to be left out of the equation. The people that have to subsidize the tax abatements that no doubt you are going to approve. Not Dr. Wiley, he's not going to approve these tax abatements, he's on record against them. But the rest of you are going to approve these tax abatements and put us non-abated property owners on the hook for this. And these tax abated properties pay no school taxes. So I know what the law is on the subject, and I know that the law precludes that from happening. But perhaps you should consider that when you decide to have tax abatements in the first place. So I encourage everyone here to attend the master plan. And the final thing that I want to say with the mayor's good graces is this. Judge Barry Albino, the New Jersey Supreme Court, who wrote, Associate Justice who wrote for the majority, the unanimous opinion in the case of the disbarment of Hoboken Mayor Peter Camerano because he accepted $25,000 from Salomon Dweck. He said the following: an elected official who sells his office, who offers favored treatment to private developers in exchange for money, betrays a solemn trust. Now, Mr. Rolando Provero was featured on a story that Mr. Hines did when he worked for Hudson County TV at a West New York Future Vision Super PAC, pictured with yourself, with Ruben Vargas, and other developers were there. Mr. Provero has published that the West New York Super PAC is Mayor Rothgate, is Silvio Acosta, and he also says that George Capadogli, the developer of Le Meridian Boulevard East, that is trying to, as Chairman Blaine said, stuff an elephant in a hamster cage, but this is a fat elephant because he wants to cover it with 97% and not 95%. He was there, and according to Rolando Cabero, he gave West New York Supervision $9,000. Mr. Mayor, my question is for you, and not for your staff, and not for your fellow commissioners. Did you accept any money from West New York Future Vision? Did any of your staff accept money from West New York Future Vision? Did your spokesperson or your campaign manager, Pablo Fonseca, accept any money from West New York Future Vision? Is this pay to play? Is this selling out our treasure and our tax abatements to developers who give money? Answer that question, sir.
Patrick, it's fun to be rich, and I do have money, but I haven't accepted any money from anybody. So you can check the records. You have copies of E-Link, I'm sure, right? So
no, but I can get them.
Yeah, you can get them. So just take a look, Patrick. I don't accept the money. Honestly, I funded my own campaign. I don't take money from anybody. Thank God for, God is great to me. Thank you.
Right, and that the redeveloper agreement that Donald Scorinci was a party to when he was for Roseland Limited Port Imperial, which the municipality is on the hook for providing bus transportation for the Port Imperial, okay? And there's nothing in that agreement that says that the Board of Education has to reimburse the town of West New York. So I don't know why the Board of Education has to reimburse the town of West New York for bus transportation for Port Imperial residents when it's in the original redeveloper agreement of 1996 that the municipality will provide bus transportation. John Forte's hands are tied because by statute he cannot transport people in grammar school greater than that live within 2.5 miles, or people in high school that live within 2 miles. All right. So you're unfairly pointing John Falta as the villain here. He's not the villain here. All right. I'm not saying that he has a halo around his head, but I'm saying
it's for 10 minutes now. So
okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Patrick.
Good evening. My name is Rob Sanchez, 5907 Buchanan Place. I wanted to talk about a few things, but the thing that's most pressing to me, that's probably going to take all the time that I have, I'll try to keep to the 5 minutes, is that I hear a lot of talk about these big developers, and they come in and they have these projects and they put them in, and people protest against them and things like that. I'm not against development, I'm not against progress. But there's another side to that story, and it's that I have myself, because I figure everybody else is doing some development, I might as well do something too. I got a little bit of money, I'm not rich, I wish I can say something like that, but I have to save money, and little by little I have to do what I have to do. And I'm wondering if it makes sense for regular people from Western New York to even dream about doing anything in Western New York. When I have two properties, one that has to go in front of the zoning board and one recently the planning board, and it keeps getting put off either because there's not enough members to vote, or one has to recuse himself, or one has to do this, or something's missing. And every time something like that happens, it moves everything 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And what the other side of the picture that people don't see is that we get stuck with these bills. You gotta pay the attorney, have to pay the lawyer, have to pay the escrow for the town. Every time the town asks you, you're gonna put something, you gotta put $2,500 upfront cash. $5,000 for this one, $6,000 for that one. On one property, I'm almost at $25,000 spent. I don't have a yes, I don't have a no, I don't have anything. So I quit on that property. We tried to get another one, figuring that this was more qualifying, this was easier to get approved. Again, got this thing about a year ago. The taxes on this property, 221 61st Street, is $25,000 a year. Besides the $18,000 that I paid quietly without announcing to anybody, I've been trying to do things as a regular citizen, not making any backdoor deals, I'm not paying on everybody, I'm waiting my turn, I'm waiting online like a regular person. And I'm convinced that a regular person can't win in West New York. A regular person can say the right statements and can't win. $25,000 in one property, $10,000 in another, add that together plus $18,000 plus another $25,000. I could have put my kids through college. They're 10 and 11 years old. They could already been set. But no, I try to believe in the American dream that you should go home and you should be successful and invest back in your community. But the message that has been relayed to me is stop dreaming, pick another town. You can't win in West New York. And the little guy can't win. I'm the little guy. I'm putting all my little peanuts together, trying to be somebody, and you can't be somebody here, at least not the legal way. That's what it seems to me. It seems to me that if you wait online, you be quiet, you don't make noise, if you don't piss anybody off, everybody's gonna take care of you. And it's not true at all. I'm a witness of this. My money's a witness of this. Our checkbook is a witness of this, that you can put all your money, but it seems to me I'm writing the check to the wrong person.
Alamo.
I have been charged. It doesn't matter who your lawyer is. I figured that one too. That didn't work either. I'm telling you, he's my lawyer. It doesn't work either. There's somebody else that we have to pay. Listen to this. One property, I have to get charged the escrow twice. They told me we're not going to hear your case unless you write us another check for $2,500, and another $600 for publication, and another $250 for this. And I get a mail every month. The engineer charging me $250 from the escrow because we looked at it. Why do they have to look at the same thing? They put me off. And every time, well, we put you off, we got to reschedule, we're going to charge you to look at it again. $240. Minus. No yes. No, nothing. I'm sitting there and I'm trying to do what the people are saying. Let's beautify West New York. Let's put money into West New York. Here comes a guy that's going to work on his hands and knees doing construction, sweating it out like the little guy, take his little peanuts, try to play with the big boys, and you get kicked to the side. This is reality, and my concern is that instead of you guys trying to kill each other, how about you kill the issues? And instead of getting pissed off at us because we're upset, find out why we're upset, and you won't be feeling the way that you feel, because you can feel the tension, you can feel, I can feel the seed in your guys' faces. Some of the comments are coming out, you don't like what they say,
But if you listen, they're not really mad at any individual person, they're mad at the issues, and these issues have to get resolved, and a good leader finds a way for the team to win. And West York wants to be a team, West York wants to do something important, but we need to be headed in the right direction. And I don't want nobody to tell me, well, you gotta talk to this guy, you gotta talk to that guy. Because are we gonna say that to everybody? Are we gonna make a deal for everybody that comes in? No. Whoever's loud or whoever's politically dangerous, let's shut that person up and let's take care of him. No, we need a government that is transparent, that there's a system in place. So my suggestion is, as part of this master plan, instead of having just a master plan for, we're gonna put this color here and this color there, why don't we make part of the master plan, how are we gonna take care of the people? What is the system in place that we're going to give them counsel so they don't waste their time and waste their money, and give them an opportunity to dream? Because I wish I could really say I'm rich and I take care of my stuff. See, I'm gonna have to borrow money from you to go to Count's fundraiser.
And I'm gonna tell you, what you're saying is very true. And the reason I'm saying that, because I want you to dream your dream. I want you to look positive. I used to be like you, and that is the reason, no, it's true, that is the reason that I did what I did. And that is the reason I ran on a promise. My promise was to keep taxes stable. And if you do the numbers, and Marqueen is good at this, so far the last 3 years is 0.4% increase.
Zero BS.
What did the
That's
town
what he
pay
said.
for that 0%? That's the problem. What are we paying? The next bomb that's coming next year, you're leaving.
Exactly. Thank you, Mr.
That's a
White.
shame.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Stop it. Okay, nobody wants to hear this.
May I speak to you, Mr. Sanchez, and
Talk,
Reverend,
no
can I speak to you, or?
No
can I-
action.
Okay, you finished?
This is a guy that has
Okay,
heart.
go ahead, go ahead.
He cares, he's here, and it's sad that you're doing this to this gentleman. And it ain't only here, every comment I've ever got out of any builder that came to West York, the politics are too dirty. We refuse to come in here. And I notice it's the same 4 to 5 guys that are building in West New York, over and over and over. You explain that to me. The same guys that come to your Christmas party, come to the housing party, I seen them all come in a bunch just to meet you. Let's be realistic what you're doing here. Business.
They're making money off you.
Come May,
Disgusting.
come May
They're
of next
raping you.
year, you'll have a voice to say what you want to do. And you know what? When you see a doctor sitting here, like you said, I don't like the salary, I don't get anything except what he says, and it's okay. But you'll have a decision of what to do, and just don't ask me to come back. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much.
We won't.
No, I know you won't.
You're not
because you know
welcome.
it's a big
You're not
contract.
welcome
I know
here.
you won't. Thank you.
Thank you. Well.
Ralph Martell, 6001 Monroe. Mr. Skowronski, you know that I think of you as a gentleman. Unfortunately, you've been tasked with a Herculean task to try to take something this disgustingly disorganized and maybe even potentially, who knows, in my opinion, corrupt, and try to put lipstick on it. No one can do it, sir, unfortunately. Mr. Mayor, you said that you ran on stabilizing taxes. What you ran on and you yelled in the streets is that this town was corrupt. What's interesting, the previous mayor was never indicted. You were. What happened is the previous mayor didn't have commissioners of questionable backgrounds. You also ran that your commissioners would never abuse their power, and we all know they do. You said that they would never use town vehicles, and that poor excuse for a human being, Sylvia Costa, still has a police car. Isn't that a violation of the law? Shouldn't he be arrested? But yet you allow it to happen. Donald, it happens. They're lying to you, just like they're lying to you about the board. This mayor knew in February that these kids were going to walk, but he didn't care. It wasn't until the parents stood on the street that he began to get scared, because no matter what he tells you, egomaniac wants to come back in May. This is politics. And to blame John, shame on you guys. To blame John, you know what? Maybe he shouldn't be superintendent, because he was playing ball with you at the beginning. But the FBI won't let him do that anymore. He spends more time talking to them than he does his job. He cannot, by law, and Donald, you're an attorney, you know that by statute, he cannot pay for those buses. Let's not lie to the people. You said you were going to pay for it. I have you in video, and you lied. $100,000, gentlemen, it's going to cost $600,000. Shame on you. I've asked you to resign before. Please do so if you have any decency. Entertain the question.
James Natale, 6031 Lawrence Place. Natale, and it's Nancy, A-T-A-L-E. Correct. I have fought overdevelopment projects in West New York for the last 10 years. I've lived here for 22 years. I am with Joshua and the rest of the team here against that Meridia project. There was a project on Park Avenue that went up. It got approved by the board with no one even knowing that it was going to happen. There were notices that went out, but people didn't understand what was going to happen, what was going to be behind them. Now I have a big red M shining in my back window every night, 24 hours a day. It never goes off. And that's what these people are going to be looking at over at the Versailles. A big red M, 24 hours a day. It never goes off. And they tell me that it's for marketing. Well, who the hell's looking at it at 3 o'clock in the morning? You know, I've had to take things into my own hands to try to fight projects. I've had to put my own money up. I've had to get my neighbors together. I've been out there on the streets handing out flyers to get people to come to these meetings. I never see any of you at these meetings. Now, I see Mr. Wiley out in the street talking to us and telling us that things are going to get better. But you know what? I don't know whether he's been at meetings because I haven't been at every one. I've only been at the ones that are in my area. But I send out emails every single month to everyone because they need to know what's going on, what's coming up. That building is huge. That building wouldn't even be put in West New York. It wouldn't be put in New York. Now, one thing I want to tell you before you say something, Mr. Wiley, is that the zoning board is taking matters into their own hands. There are variances that they are giving wide approvals to that are crazy. We fought a project and got it thrown out, unanimous decision. It came back with higher densities, higher FAR values, more 2 driveways instead of 1, and it got approved with 1 person who was against it. It's the same project. And they kept, every time we brought up what happened the last time, what we argued with, that's a different project, that's a different project. It's wrong. It's the same project, it's the same property, it's the same developer, it's the same owner. And I was told, before we even walked into the first meeting, that's a done deal. Don't even waste your breath, that's a done deal. My lawyer tells me that that's just a rubber stamp committee over there. Anything that comes through, they rubber stamp it. That's all I have to say.
Carlos Fedport, 6305 Jackson. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Gentrification in this area is inevitable, and we understand that. But we're having a problem on how it's being done. We're overtaxing our employees and the infrastructure of the town. I think we're putting the cart before the horse when we start making these grandiose plans with the master plan and we don't even have streetlights operating. That to me is tantamount of irresponsibility, and I know you put in the order, but 601 Jackson was out today and blinking. This system is archaic. It needs to be readdressed, redone, and there has to be more appropriate oversight in terms of making sure that we provide more parking, more everything for the folks. I think you should explore alternate types of parking within large thoroughfares that will provide more spaces other than the ones you have now. It's always out of the box thinking that wins the game at the end of the day. I've also heard a plethora of opinions from a lot of people aimed at the waterfront. I can vividly recall, because I've been around here forever and a day, when Boulevard East in itself were newcomers and they weren't welcome, they didn't participate, etc., etc., etc. And now they participate. Waterfront will do likewise. This town will change and adapt because that's the way it has to be. But in order to do that, you have to have appropriate leadership. And that we do need, and we need it sorely. Now, all that being said, I'm going to get something off my chest in reference to you. Mr. Martell mentioned something about Silvio Costa. Yes, he is riding around in a vehicle with lights, emergency lights and siren. That's illegal. I was a cop for 34 years. I know the law. This man is a civilian. He's not entitled to it. So put him in a pickup truck where he belongs and have him cover the town down. Good evening. Have a good night.
You're closing the meeting, Carmelo? You're closing the meeting? I'm sorry, I wanted to come up and speak. So what time? No, all mine, all mine.
Frank Ferrero, 5206. We're going to have.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night. I just wanted to bring something up. I wasn't here to find out what happened with the Jacqueline Heights abatement proposal. Whether it was tabled, thank you for letting me know. I wanted to put something out there, whether, I don't know if it's late or not. What I've seen done in other towns, abatements bring something good for the residents and something for the town. In a lot of towns, abatements create recreation centers. In North Bergen, an abatement for Roseland created a park for the residents. Abatements create jobs for the residents. That's why abatements make sense sometimes, because they have a benefit for the town. I would like to see if the commissioners could ask and negotiate with Jacqueline Heights in order for this 5-year abatement that they're going to get, that they're going to save a lot of money from. How about they pay $25,000 a year to the West New York Rec Department? That department could definitely use the money, and the kids could definitely use progression in the rec department. That's the only suggestion I had. If you guys could consider that, thank you.
That's a good comment. Thank you, Mr. Ferrero.
Just to piggyback on that, Jacqueline Heights. And you on? Just to piggyback on that with Jacqueline Heights, some time ago, Frank asked me to look into what's going on over there, because it seems a little shady that there's all luxury apartment rentals, and the starting prices, the entry points, don't seem to be all that affordable. You know, workforce grants used to develop some of these properties. So I'm going to ask a question one more time, because everyone else gets their questions answered. Is anyone here aware of any investigation into the Jacqueline Heights condominium complex?
Sorry, is anyone?
Jacqueline Heights condominium complex. Amon Group, well now Jacqueline 40, Jacqueline 28, different LLCs. Is anyone here aware of any ongoing investigation into any possible improprieties or misuse of any grants or anything like that? No.
Are you aware of something that we should be aware of?
I'm asking a question. Not that I know, I'm just asking a question. Okay, that's fair enough. Thank you for your time.
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Frias? Yes. Commissioner Rodriguez? Yes. Commissioner Vargas? Yes. Commissioner Wiley? Mayor Roque? Now I have a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Frias, be seconded by Commissioner Wiley. Commissioner Frias? Commissioner Rodriguez? Yes. Commissioner Vargas? Yes.